Hello lads. On the previous episode I had to deal with the aftermath of my previous conquests, as I was getting several rebellions, especially from my Turkish minorities. And I also had to pay some extra attention to my previously neglected economy and industry. And as a result of my economy now being in a much better shape, I am able to make constructions or maintain armies much more comfortably. And of course, we expanded our African holdings from Tunis to Libya. In this episode, I will be continuing to be building up my strength, and seeing that the colonization race has begun, I will also see if I can grab one or two good colonies. Seeing that Egypt is westernized and under French protection, and that the Germans have already made a move against Ethiopia, I will probably be utilizing the Suez Canal to subjugate the Arabian uncivilized nations before another great power gets them. And looking around the rest of the world for a bit, I noticed that Japan has been surprisingly weak in this game of mine. Usually they become a great power as soon as they westernize, but in this campaign I don't think they ever managed to become a great power. In fact, right now their score is lower than mine, which is weird. And I also noticed that in South Africa these two provinces are 100% British. I wonder if that's normal. And without much else to do, I will seize the initiative and begin colonizing Arabia. Might as well justify another war while I am occupying Hejaz. I mean, after all, I can spare the infamy. And here we go. And Russia just removed me from the British sphere of influence. And I just hope that this will not screw up my industry too much. Though, just as I anticipated, my textile mills are already starting to become unproductive. And France wants an alliance, but I will pass on that offer. I would feel much safer under British or Russian protection. And since I still have infamy to spare, I will also justify another war goal against Zaidi while I am attacking the Saudis. And once again I got the same city event that I got around 3 episodes ago or something. And honestly, what the fuck is this event? So for the next decade, I will have a bunch of negative effects, including increased militancy, which is complete bullshit. And excuse me, but just how many times can a single country get a regency within such a short period of time? Oh, you know how regency was pretty much the most unfunny mechanic in Europa Universalis or Crusader Kings 2? Yeah, let's just add this on Victoria too. I have never ever experienced this event so many times before, and it just makes me wonder, was I just lucky and I wasn't getting this event on my previous games, or could it be that this event is just a result of the latest HPM patches? I really have zero idea. Since I am not sure if I am just having a really bad RNG or if this thing really is the result of HPM's update, I won't say anymore, but I will just add to this rant of mine that if this is a type of nerf on absolute monarchies, then it's complete fucking bullshit and should be immediately removed in the next patch. And of course I get the second worst outcome. Anyways, you will have to excuse me for losing my temper a little bit previously, but sometimes the bullshit you have to deal with in this game, the amount of bullshit you have to face is almost too much to handle. Such as this, for example. After removing me from the British sphere, Russia suddenly decided that sparing me was not an important priority for them, so now they have really slowed down, which screws over my economy by a lot. As you can see, my industry is in shambles right now. A lot of the progress that we have made industrially over the previous 2 episodes has been negated, and we will have to do something about it and try to make our industry a little bit more independent of great powers spearing us. And Arabia is finally Greek. Well, most of it anyways. In the time that I was subjugating Arabia, it appears that France won against Germany and reclaimed their course in Alsace-Lorraine. A little bit more interestingly though, it appears that France somehow got Sudan from Egypt, and I am not sure if that should happen at all, considering that Egypt is civilized, and that France is their ally and protector. Maybe there is some event that I don't know of, I am not sure. And I am saying this because Egypt becoming civilized and not becoming a colony when under control of the AI is pretty rare, and it's a shame to see them still being treated like an uncivilized nation despite being pretty much westernized. But anyways, with my infamy being almost maxed out, I will now lay off with the colonizing and focus a little bit more on my economy. I will of course sign an alliance with Russia, and hopefully that will encourage them to sphere me. Since with me not being in a sphere and not having a high enough ranking to get a good priority on imports, you can see that my industry is in shambles. And from a quick look, it appears that wine, clothes, and what else? And sawmills are the only thing that are not failing right now. Everything else pretty much fails to find the necessary raw materials that they need, since my RGOs are pretty bad, and as a result they are either in the red or they are not making me much money, and as a result I have to subsidize them. And yeah, looks like... oh no, never mind after all. It looks like eventually Russia might sphere me. Okay, and I just noticed that Norway is no longer under the Swedish personal union somehow, and they have ended up under the Russian sphere. That sucks for Sweden. And suddenly my wine, clothes and sawmill industries are in the red and failing. And you know, that's the problem with Victoria 2. The problem is that the game experience in general, especially in terms of economy, is pretty inconsistent with minors. You pretty much have to be a great power in order to have a stable economy, or at the very least you have to be in possession of some pretty good RGOs. Right, and right now, unless I am in the sphere of another country, it is pretty much impossible for me to come up with a viable economic plan. Okay, that's pretty funny. It appears that Austria wants to liberate Poland from Russia. But with most of the great powers being friendly to the Russian cause, Austria will probably end up getting crushed if they really go through with this. And considering that Russia somehow had its diplomat. And considering how Russia just somehow had their diplomats expelled from my country, I am just going to abuse my pops a little bit and make some quick cash by increasing my tariffs. Which, you know, while it's pretty viable, I generally don't like doing this, unless necessary. But considering that my industry is trash anyways, who cares? And yeah, obviously Austria had to back off. They would have been destroyed if they didn't. I wonder why you need to invent state and government in order to take the restore Constantinople decision. Looks pretty pointless to me. And yeah, I guess the Turks are not very happy about this. That's a pretty strong rebellion, and what is even more scarier is just how many of my troops are disloyal. However, with all this extra income that I am getting from tariffs, I should be able to beat them. And in the end, I didn't even have to fight most of the Turkish rebels. After passing a popular reform about minimum wages, most of them just gave up. All I have to do is kill these ones at the mountains of Bersa and this rebellion is pretty much over. Oh, I didn't even have to beat these ones. Yeah, I had forgotten how important sometimes reforms are, or rather how important they can be. So I guess that directive number 1 is the reward genocide decision. I am not sure. I'm pretty sure that's it. What else could it be? And I don't actually think that I will be able to use this decision just yet because the negative effects of this decision are just so overwhelming. I mean, even if I took this decision right here and now, I would have to somehow cancel it in less than 5 years due to being near my infamy limit. And this is the first time I am seeing this updated genocide decision, and it's just such a bad decision to take. I don't think it's worth it at all. Lose 50 plurality, lose 20% tax efficiency, lose 40% administration efficiency, and rather than a short-term decision that gives you result within a few years, it appears that the reward genocide mechanic is supposed to be an ongoing process that continues for decades, potentially until the end of the game. And let's say I want to have this decision running for 10 years, I will have to wait for at least 5 years in order to not go over the infamy limit. And by that time the game will pretty much be over for me. And does it even work really well? I am not sure. I am not sure at all. This is the first time I am seeing this new updated genocide mechanic, and I have no idea if it's even worth taking at all, considering of all the negative consequences that you get from it. And at the same time, craftsman assimilation isn't going very well for me. With the exception of the Nicaea province, where most of the craftsmen are Greek, the Smyrna province and the Thrace province almost have pretty much have zero craftsman assimilation. In fact, I think that Smyrna is more likely to become Jewish than becoming Greek at this rate. Which isn't great because one of my goals for this campaign wasn't just to conquer these Anatolian holdings, but also to Hellenize them. And both the nerfed genocide and the failure of my craftsmen to assimilate pretty much screw up this plan of mine. Okay, and now Japan somehow became communist. And as a result, forget about them becoming a great power. They are not even a secondary power. Their performance is completely trash in this game. But anyways, that's it more or less for this video. I will probably not be doing any more colonizing, since not only I can't afford it infamy wise, but I also want to save up some infamy in case that I really end up launching the Directive 1 decision, but I am not sure if I will do it at all. Perhaps you guys can give me your opinions on this subject. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope that I didn't tire you too much in this episode, and I will be seeing you on the next one. Goodbye.